Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. We are moving into 2 Kings chapter 6 today, and it opens with a short story about Elisha and the company of the prophets, and one of them in particular. Some translations, the sons of the prophets, we might think of it as a guild or a school. But apparently, Elisha kind of had followers who were prophets in training, if you will. Maybe they're the ones responsible for passing his stories along. But anyways, the company of the prophets, or the sons of the prophets, they talked to Elisha saying, you know, the place where we meet, the place where we dwell, it's too small for all of us. We need a bigger place. And they want to go down to the Jordan River and cut some lumber and make a new place for them right there by the Jordan. And Elisha says, fine, sounds like a good idea, go for it. And they invite Elisha to come along with them, and so he goes. And so these men are at work and they're cutting lumber, and one of them loses his axe head in the water and it sinks. He must have been cutting a tree near the water, and the axe head must have come off the handle, and it landed in the Jordan River and it sunk. And the man cries out, whoa, this is not a good thing that it was borrowed. And so, iron tools would have been expensive in those days. And so he's probably thinking that, he's lost this iron head, it's borrowed. He's going to be in great debt, and he might even have to go into servitude in order to pay off the debt. And so he's just horrified. And so what we have is a story of loss. And the loss of this axe head, it was borrowed. And so you can just imagine the fear that must have been going through him in terms of what's going to happen to him next. There's no way he can pay this back. The axe head is sunk, and in a sense, he is sunk with it. And so they cry out to Elisha. So Elisha asked, where did it go into the water? And they showed him. And so Elisha cuts down a branch, a stick, and he throws it into the water, and the axe head rises to the surface. It floats. And Elisha tells the man to reach out and to pick it up, and he does so. And he's able to recover the axe head that was lost. And that's kind of the end of the story. We can only assume that they continue their project of building a new dwelling place, and that the man is able to return the axe intact, and he's good to go. And so it's a story of loss, but also a story of recovery. It's a story of reversal. And it's really interesting that here's the iron axe head sunk at the bottom of the Jordan River, and Elisha takes a piece of wood, cuts it down, and throws it in at the place where the iron axe head is sunk. Now you know that wood floats. And so it's almost like the property of the wood is somehow transferred to the iron axe head so that it floats. And the man is able to reach out and to pick it up and continue on. So it's a fascinating story. And I'm sure in one sense it's remembered and passed on just because it is so fascinating. I mean, iron doesn't float. Okay, and so it looks like this is a horrible loss, and yet now there's this recovery. And somehow the property of the wood was transferred to the iron so that it floats, and he was able to reach out and pick it up. So in one sense, yeah, I get why they pass the story on. It's so kind of unique, unusual, miraculous. But I'm sure there's also a lesson to be learned from the story. So it's not just, hey, this is exciting, this crazy thing happened, but what do we learn from it? And I think probably the biggest thing we learn is that where there's loss, by the grace of God, by the power of God, there can be recovery. And I don't know, sometimes we go through times of loss and we recognize that, wow, what I lost, it wasn't even mine to start with. It was borrowed. It was a gift to me, and I've lost it. And it could be a gift, it could be a talent, it could be a dream, a vision, something that God had given us, something that somebody had given us, and for whatever reason, however it happened, and there's maybe no one to blame, there's loss. What do we do in that loss? Well, this man cried out to Elisha. We are to cry out to Jesus. And in crying out to Elisha showed them exactly what to do. As we cry out to Jesus, what we discover is that Jesus is able to show us what to do, tell us what to do, so that in some sense there is recovery. And there is a new future that opens up, that we're able to experience the restoration of Christ Jesus. And, that restoration, there's no bigger sign of it than in terms of Jesus going to the cross and then being resurrected. And all of our losses, whatever we might experience, they're kind of tied into the cross. But the cross is not the last word. Death is not the last word. Ending, loss is not the last word. Final word is resurrection. And so just as Jesus was raised from the dead, just as this, iron axe head is raised from the Jordan River, so whatever our losses are, there is recovery. There is new life. There is resurrection. Loss does not have to be the last word. When we cry out to Jesus, we listen to Jesus, we trust Him, what we discover is He restores what was lost. And we're able to continue on, and He gives us a new future. So wherever you find yourself scattered today, and I don't know what axe head you may have lost, but just realize loss is not the last word. There is recovery. That Jesus is able to transfer life to what was lost so that we're not sunk, but we have a new future and we can continue on in the work that He has for us to do. Well, God bless and have a restored day.